at what stories are making the headlines on Nigerian newspapers this Monday morning. A lot of them are before us. We're looking at starting off with the Voice of Liberty newspaper. And the lead story there is captioned in the fallout of the president's strategic meetings with Qatari senior officials. Tinubu welcomes multi-sectoral agreements with Qatar set to receive investment team in Abuja, and that's a picture to that effect. We also brought up the report about the president's series of meetings earlier on the program. In other stories now on Voice of Liberty, police place 50 million bounty on 2 bandits in Katsina. Serap sues President Tinubu over alleged missing $3.4 billion IMF loan. And economic hardship, residents invade FCT warehouse in Abuja, cut away food items. All right, that's it on Voice of Liberty. You can check that out. The Nation is next. President still dominating the papers so far. Nigeria clearing obstacles to investment, says Bola Tinubu. Country offers best return on business in the world. And there's a further report on pact signed with Qatar in education, solid minerals, and others. Cement manufacturers declare 710 billion naira profit as sales hit 3.1 trillion naira in 12 months. Aspirant Ayedatiwa clash over governor certificate. Of course, you must be following that the governorship race is heating up in Ondo State, and that is, another development to that effect. ICPC quizzes government officials over missing $3.4 billion IMF loan. Fire raises 50 acres of palm trees, pineapples worth $150 million in Osun State. Next is First News. Former minister tackles Tinubu over statement on bribe-seeking officials, accuse president of continuing Buhari's demarketing of Nigeria. As the president says, the president is saying Nigerian youth are reliable. He also signs multi-sectoral investment agreements with Qatar. Economic sabotage. I am determined to eradicate oil theft in Niger Delta, says Tompolo, as he is offered with NUJ Meritorious Award. And on the issue of looting, NEMA tightened security nationwide, denies attack on Abuja warehouse. 2020 audit report. Office of the Auditor General of the Federation asks Labour Ministry to account for 3.106 billion naira. Military forcibly took away suspected oil bunkers from police custody, IGP tells court. Let's head on now to check out New Telegraph. Residents break into FCTA-owned Agric warehouse. That's the biggest story there. And reps order private airlines refund 4 billion naira COVID-19 funds to FG within 1 week. Tinubu to Qatari investors, returns on investment highest in Nigeria. Still on the CBN's moves to revive the economy, banks' contributions to AMCON sinking fund hit 416.99 billion naira. And on the Oronsaye report, which the government says it will work out an implementation plan, lawyers in the meantime split over proposed EFCC ICPC measure. You can check out all these stories on First News. Silent Times, on New Telegraph, I should say, but Silent Times is now before us. Police arrest 15 as FCT residents loot government house. 3-year-old burnt to death in candle fire in Lagos. Really sad one there. Well, wife materials as well. Deaf women cry out over neglect. And over the weekend, we heard about the shocking, another sad one there, the death of John Okafor, popularly called Mr. Ibu. Well, his daughter is reported to have hijacked his TikTok account hours after his death. Fake products overrun regulators, endanger Nigerians. Customs open 90-day window for importers to clear improperly imported vehicles. BRT bus kills 5-year-old boy, injures mom and sibling as truck crushes man to death. All right. The Punch. Food crisis still. Tight security at NEMA stores as hoodlums loot FCT warehouses. Report Nigerian officials demanding bribes. Tinubu tells Qatari investors. Reps ask airlines to refund 4 billion naira COVID-19 funds. All right, let's quickly check out the Nigerian Tribune. Other stories there, more reactions, drill regulatory actions on BDC operations. AFDB supports Nigeria with $134 million to cultivate rice, maize, cassava, soya beans. And now we are looking at Daily Trust. Man who returned 100 million naira gifted Hajj slot cash. War on Gaza, Israel kills Palestinians collecting aids. Economic Forum cautions against relocation of firefighting equipment. That's all on Daily Trust. There's more, which you can also see. Abuja Inquirer is also reporting on, still on the fallout of the warehouse looting that panic grips business owners as NEMA beefs security around warehouses nationwide. And Tinubu to foreign investors report any official who demands bribe. Finally, with me is Nigerian News Direct. Hardship bites harder, it says, as Nigerians loot government food storage in Abuja. But in other stories, NDLEA falls drug smuggling attempt at Abuja airport, arrests businessman with 1.5 kilograms of cocaine. Ibrahim, let's check out what you've got.
Right, this Nigeria is the first with me. So in cement price hike, pushing us out of labor market, artisans, unskilled laborers cry out. Reduce high cost of building materials to address housing deficit, realtors tell federal government. On the ear of the newspaper, police confirm looting of warehouse in Abuja. Wike approves Abuja's maiden infrastructure investment expo. Withheld salaries, NASU, SANO give federal government 7-day ultimatum. Hardship, AFDB grants Nigeria $134 million to cultivate rice, maize, others. Next is leadership. Leadership newspaper says hardship, shun politics, address current hunger. CSOs tell president. Residents loot warehouse in Abuja. Police arrest 15 suspects. Hunger, cumulative effects of the past. Umahi. Also, Africa Gaming Expo, showcasing innovation and collaboration. And, we have irate youth lynch 2 escort policemen, injured 2 in Edo. Pakistan elects Sharif Prime Minister for second term. Tinubu to Qatar investors report Nigerian bribe takers to me. That's about it for the leadership newspaper. Platform Times is next. Special report. Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti, Oyo spends 22 billion naira to fund state assemblies in 2023. Obasanjo ex-envoy Ishola Obi celebrate Egbaland Chief Imam's 90th birthday in grand style. Investors lose 100 billion naira annually due to power woes at Nigerian ports. Mob beats 2 policemen to death in Edo. Ex-Zamfara governor to distribute 358 trucks of food aid ahead of Ramadan. Hardship. Southwest has no justification for protest against federal government. How kidnappers used my son to steal 2 bags of rice. That's according to a pastor. Daily Independent is next. Tech glitch, manpower shortage, delay banks linking NIN to accounts. Ethiopian Airlines acquired 3 aircraft for Nigeria Air project. Carrier says it's acted in accordance with Nigerian laws. On the bottom strip, Tompolo cautions Nigerians against saboteurs ruining nation's economy. Serap sues Tinubu over failure to probe missing $3.4 billion IMF loan. Return on investment in Nigeria's economy irresistible, Tinubu tells Qatar government. Next is the Guardian newspaper. Nigeria's terrorism index, terror attacks decline amid new recruitments, rise in violent conflicts. Teachers, endless wait for federal government's promises of improved salary welfare. States should account for money they receive. Telcos may lose 83 billion naira monthly over disconnected telephone lines. Hardship, military, paramilitary to distribute food as hoodlums loot warehouses. Blame governors for restructuring delay. Economic downturn. Banditry, police place 50 million naira bounty on 2 kingpins in Katsina. Next is the Vanguard newspaper. Federal government fights inflation, mops up 5 trillion naira to raise interest rates, price fixed income yields. CBN meets foreign investors over FX reforms, APR hike, and how Oshoba facilitated my emergence as Alake Obagbadibo. Nigeria, Qatar sign agreement on education, solid minerals, others. COVID-19 probe, refund or account for 4 billion naira, reps tell airlines. Only implementation of agreement will stop nationwide strike, NLC insists. Misinformation undermining military's fight against terrorism. That's about it for the Vanguard newspaper. Next is Blueprint. Rising cost of living, consequences of our past. Shettima assures federal government will fix nation's economy the Nigerian ways. Urges responsible protest, says missed opportunities led us to where we are. Restore fuel subsidy to curb poverty. Jibwis tells federal government. Tinubu to Qatari investors. Report officials obstructing progress. Ask for bribe. Welcomes multi-sectoral agreement. We are wife materials. Niger deaf women beg willing suitors. And Sokoto gunmen kill PDP treasurer. Kidnap couple. Above the masthead, police place 50 million naira bounty on 2 notorious terrorists in Katsina. Next is the national economy. Nigeria outlook shows agric. 4 other sectors will drive economic growth. A steady 5% growth may deliver $1 trillion economy for country by 2023. How you can join the $1 billion tech club, you can read that up. And also Nigeria secures 60% share of Afrexim Bank's $30 billion energy funding. BVN, NIN, understanding post no debit. Next is the Nature News newspaper. Nigeria loses 3.1 trillion naira to gas flaring in 5 years. Nigeria needs $104 billion for net zero emission by 2050. Food security, Governor Bago asks North to return to agriculture. Nigeria's Shippers Council urges acceleration of Ondo Seaport. Ekiti government allays residents fear as NIMET predicts thunderstorm. Fact check, can chicken waste produce biogas? You can read that up on the Nature News newspaper. Last but not least, price of meat increased in Oyo. Butchers blame high cost of transportation. Others, Yoruba group cautions Igboho. That's on the ear of the newspaper. No beavers, count us out of local government polls. APC tells OISEC. Election scheduled for Saturday, April the 27th. Lagos slums evacuation notice on Lekki's quarters. Ondo Goba race. Southwest APC National Vice Chairman to battle Aiyedatiwa for sole ticket. 12 things that may shape APC Goba primary in Ondo. Former Super Falcons goalkeeper Aluko Lasheni dies of breast cancer after 8-year battle. Nigeria, Qatar forge stronger ties in education, investment, youth empowerment. Shettima to unveil Adire facility in Asheru, Abeokuta. Yeah, that's about it for... Okay, Ekiti Governor, Lasema collaborate on disaster management. That's about it for the Nigerian newspapers this morning.
And there you have them. That was kind of a mouthful, looking at all the papers. But then, being the first day of the week, we we can, narrow all the various stories there, the various top stories, headline stories that is now to a few. And of course, one of them would stick out. We were even discussing it before the show started. And that is, of course, the president embarking on yet another crucial visit to woo investors, this time around from Qatar. And we understand that a second visit this time around from Qatar to Nigeria as a follow-up, no doubt, to the conversations agreement signed already in Doha will also be coming up soon. But that's not all the reactions, that's not just the basis of reactions we are getting. We're also having the president being put on the spotlight for his comments to the Qatari investors or the would-be investors for them to report any Nigerian official who is found seeking bribe. This paper, New Telegraph, says, urges the Qatari business individuals to report incident of graft demand. And that got a former minister reacting here in Nigeria, saying the president is demarketing the country. But there must have been, if of course we know how headlines work, but there must have been, something leading to the president's reaction on that point. We've all seen, even when the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, came, he spoke about how the Americans were desirous of furthering their business interests in Nigeria, but they brought out their own host of concerns, their list of concerns. And for the Qatari side this time around, now the issue of corruption, and they are not exactly lone, they are not a lone voice in the wilderness on this issue of corruption, how there is need to sanitize the way business is run in Nigeria. But then, of course, we know that it takes two to tango, especially in the issue of, corrupt tendencies in business.
Yeah, I support the president on his statement, assuring investors, coming into the country to invest in the country. And I strongly also disagree with Osita Chidoka, the former aviation minister, who said that the president, told the path of his predecessors, by demarketing Nigeria. No, Nigeria is not being demarketed because it is a common knowledge. If someone like David Cameron back in the day could, when he was talking to, was it the former Queen, saying that Nigeria is fantastically corrupt, that got us, angry and all of that. We had Trump, using his own word, which I can't say right here, and so many other, foreigners who were, using derogatory remarks about Nigerian and their behaviors and the crop of people we have in governance who would always seek bribe for things that are meant for their own people. I've heard of a story of a state commissioner who was being met to, they wanted to give them, something which is beneficial to the state. But he was saying that before they could accept that, they had to collect certain amounts of money. Another one was also invited to a summit, maybe to a summit or something, just to, have a discussion or look at how they can bring in investment. He was asking for estakos, he was asking for, things that were not. So I feel it's very important they probably might have told the president that this had been the bottlenecks. Because the Qatari government said it is not our money, it's not our own personal money, it's the money for our future generation. So we need to do our due diligence before we come into your country and to pump that money. Exactly, to invest, because all other countries they've gone to invest, they made gains. So they won't come into this country when they are not sure of what the return on investment would be. We understand that the president, is from the, he's a businessman as well. He's from the, what is it called? Those who understand business, that word evades me right now. But all of the same, this is someone who understands what it means to bring in, investors, win their confidence over.
The president, Tinubu, you mean?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
And he also said that Nigerian youth are, they are trustworthy. We can't allow bad heads, to change our image or to taint our image. We have strong, potential Nigerian youth who are industrious, who are ready to help these companies whenever they come in, and they are willing to contribute their own quota, which is true. So it's all about us being good people as a people and ensuring that we do things right, because it's not the leaders that will paint Nigeria. It's all about what we say about ourselves on social media, how we conduct ourselves outside of the country, because most of the time our problem is usually not leaders. Our problem is us because of our own ways.
Right. And speaking of the president's affirmation of the reliability of the youth, the average Nigerian youth, it also struck me as it also stood out and resonated with me because earlier on, his predecessor, former President Buhari, was, largely criticized in one of his, his trips back then, where he was saying that, Nigeria, the Nigerian youth are lazy and all of that. It gives one the impression that, yes, indeed, these trips for Nigerian leaders are very important because, and they are being watched by people at home. Everything you say, your mien, your composure, everything you say, people are really watching you because yes, you are going there, as a salesman, a presidential salesperson, so to speak, for the Nigerian people, Nigerian nation. So this is, well, good that the president is speaking for the Nigerian youth, that they are ready. The climate is ready. Yes, there are challenges here and there. There are some clogs that need to be cleared to give us that believability out there that yes, we are indeed ready to welcome more business investments in the country. But it's good that the president is also speaking up for the youth. And of course, we all know the gains, crucial agreements were reached in education and other sectors, and as said earlier on, there's bound to be a follow-up in due course. Well, we'll continue to monitor how that's going on. Also in the news, the newspapers this morning, even though we also took that report earlier on the program, residents invading warehouses in Abuja, and that also got us talking, even here in the newsroom, got us talking about why we have to go down this road, why we have to do this. Yes, of course, the simple reason, or the first reason that you may adduce would be hunger and anger and all of that. But when you look at the fact that this food is meant for vulnerable persons, is meant for the poor, and is said to be run, in that light. There's no excuse, for those kind of criminal tendencies. Yeah,
I find we acknowledge the fact that there is hunger in the land due to food crisis, due to some other situation, especially since the removal of fuel subsidy. But I tell you what, most of these things that we saw, the looting of warehouses, the stealing, robbery, etc., they are not essentially tied to hardship. Most of them, some people are just who they are. Whether they have enough, they will still go ahead and still want to pilfer.
Just see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly, because you're hungry. They said a hungry man is an angry man. It's not always. Sometimes you have your senses. You don't have to throw it away. Because if you see, I don't know, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and the person said, imagine what the Palestinians are going through when the U.S., which will give them food in the morning and bomb them at night, saying that they are giving them food. They said, no, we don't want food. Just, there has to be ceasefire. Then now the person now said, imagine this is happening in Nigeria. Nigerians will be the ones to be turning against themselves rather than fighting their oppressors. So that goes to show that we need to learn the art of humanity. We need to understand that we are humans. We need to understand that not all our problems usually are from stem from the leadership. Our leaders most times or oftentimes reflect the kind of people that we are. So when we have corrupt government, it's because we are corrupt people. If we have good government, it's because we are good as a people. So looting warehouses, stealing people's, investments and all of that, I feel that it's, imagine people going to a warehouse and saying that they said it's our own. Did you buy it? Did you pay for it? Some people are genuinely doing this business. That does not, support those who are intentionally holding, some of these grains. For instance, in Kano, some warehouses that were busted and all of that. It doesn't mean that, it doesn't support the fact that they are supposed to sell these things, into the market rather than holding it in order to profiteer, so as to, add more money and then make more profit out of it. So we just have to, begin to reorientate ourselves, change our value orientation and do things the way we should and with the fear of God, because most of these things that we see people doing, if we have the fear of God, at first, we probably would not be seeing all of this. I saw a skit yesterday night. The guy, had a bunch of cash, okay, because of our time.
Right. No.
Okay.
That story, just
right.
wrap up.
The guy had a bunch of cash, and then he walked past two beggars. He dropped the money, and the beggar ran after the guy. They returned the money. He went past some other guys who were just, sitting down,
not beggars.
Not beggars. And then they took the bunch of cash.
So there you have it.
And then he was even telling them, "You're on camera." He said, "No, we didn't see any money." And, we could see that. Is that hunger? That's
a very big lesson. That's a very big. In this particular video, they even went on to cut windows, machinery for the
roofing
wet
sheets,
and all of that materials, machinery for wet farming season. All right. That said, we still have some more discussion.